Hello everyone. Today we're going to be going over one of the most common interview questions you will ever receive, and that's how to reverse a string. Now I've been asked this myself in several interviews, and I've known almost every other person that I've talked to who's done technical interviews a couple times. They've also received this question, so it's very, very important that you know this one, and that's why we're doing it. So let's dive right into it. So this is the paragraph we selected to exemplify the methods that we want you to write. Now, let's start with the first method, reversing a string. Now, most interviews will actually just give you this question. They won't expand on it. So let's do it. So the simplest way to do it, say for the word hello. So we have hello. The simplest way to do it is to make a second string of the same length as the word. And then you'd start at the last letter, in this case the 0, and you'd simply populate that string, or array of characters as it might be in this case, starting from the end going to the beginning. This could be done with a simple for loop that starts with the last letter, iterates backwards going to the first letter, populating the other string, like so. You would essentially start with this one, put the O here, then you would take that L, put it here, take the L, put it here, put the E, put it here, take the capital H, put it here, and you reverse the string. Now all you have to do is assign this string to be that one. And you've reversed the string. And if you found this solution, then good for you. But this solution actually isn't enough, because whenever you give this solution in an interview, 90% of the time they will follow you up with this question. Okay, good. Can you reverse the string in place? What do they mean by that? Well, notice how when we did this, we actually had this temporary variable. And in case you're not aware of this, the colon followed by the equal is updates to. In programmatical terms, this could just be an equal sign in most programming languages. But we're assigning the variable we want to reverse with this temporary variable. What reversing it in place means is we're actually manipulating the data of the string itself without temporary variables, which is possible. But how do we do it? Well, we have to actually physically switch the indices as we go. For example, in this case, we'd want to switch H with O and then E with L. So we have to perform those two operations, and of course this L is in the correct spot no matter what. So how do we programmatically get to those operations? Well, I'll show you one way. So let's take the word hello. I'm just going to rewrite this for clarity's sake. What we want to do is we need a reference to the first element and the last element. That's the first step. Depending on your programming languages, you'll do this in many different ways, but in an interview they certainly won't care. But for the rest of this video I'm going to use the term pointer. That really just means something referring to any one of these characters. So let's go. We have a pointer here, and it has an indices 0. We have a pointer here, and it has the indices 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, cool. So we're going to take the character at indices 0 and 4, and we're going to swap their positions. Note, this arrow refers to the current state of this variable. It's actually updating to the new value as I go. So now the string we have is O, E, L, L, H. Not quite what we want. But after we do this update, we take your indice at 0 and indice at 4, and we move them closer together. So now this indice becomes 1, and this indice becomes 3, referring to the E and the L. Now, an important step here is you have to check to make sure these pointers, or the indices of these pointers, aren't the same. And you also have to make sure they don't pass each other. In this case, we don't have to worry about it, but if you thought of that as I did this, good for you. We'll get to that in the next update. So in this case, we do the same thing as before, and we swap them. So your hello becomes O, L, L, E, H. And if you remember from up here, that's actually exactly what we want. But our loop is still going. So now our pointers, again, this one increases, becomes 2, and this one decreases and becomes 2. Now, you could perform the extra step and swap indice 2 with indice 2, doing nothing, but it's bad practice. But how do you get out of this? Well, all you have to do, and it's very simple, check if these two indices are the same number or if this guy is greater than this guy. So if the first pointer is greater than or equal to the second one, at least the indices, then you can break from the loop. We know we've done the entire thing. Awesome. You can also say if this guy is less than or equal to this one, whatever your preference. I use this one. So that's our method. That's all it does. And how do we use that to solve the further parts of the problem? Well, it's actually pretty easy. Most programming languages have a method that works with any kind of array, which a string is, or strings, called split. And I'm going to take advantage of that, but if you wanted to figure out how split works yourself, feel free to look up the documentation on any programming language of your choice. It's fairly common, I'm sure you'll find it. So what split does is, going back up here, it finds something called a delimiter and uses that to split elements of an array every time it sees that delimiter. So what do I mean by that? Well, if we take a sentence as input, say, hello world, I could say, let's say this is just called sentence, the variable I mean. So I could say something like sentence dot split, and I would pass it a delimiting character. So in this case, just a space. And what this would return is actually two arrays, one containing the string hello, and the other containing the string world. So hello would be at indices 0, and world would be indices 1. Now, you can probably see where we're going with this. All we need to do is use this method that we wrote down here that performs these operations, and apply that to every element of this array. And it's that simple. Then you just put them back together using a simple for loop, looping through each element of the array that split returns, and creating one new array. So, how then do we do the paragraph? Well, now you know about split. So, it's the same process. It's exactly the same process. All you have to do is say paragraph dot split. And here, as our delimiter, we would actually use the period that we told you would separate these sentences, which would give you an array of sentences, and on each of those you would call sentence.split. So we'd use the sentence method, split with spaces, and for each element that this array returns, we call the string reversing function. And it's that simple. It's just a matter of being able to use this. Now, if you wanted to write split yourself, it's not hard. All you would do is loop through until you see the delimiting character, take everything you found up until that point, put it in a variable, and then go to the next one and repeat the process. So that's how you reverse a string in place, along with how you might reverse every word in a sentence or in a paragraph. Thanks for watching, everybody, and if you have any comments, questions, concerns, or just want more information about the problem, feel free to post below. Thank you.